Okay, welcome back. How's everybody doing today? We're doing some art today. Let's do it. Probably wait a little bit for people to show up, but I wanted to do a little Discord and discussion. I know that's the name of the thing. Basically, I want to take anybody, if they have any questions or are having trouble with some of their art, and we'll just kind of dissect it today. We'll sit down and think about it. Otherwise, I'm going to keep practicing my dynamic poses today because the one video I'm working on is just not coming together the way I want. I don't like the poses I'm doing, so I'm going to keep experimenting with that. We'll see what happens. We will see what happens. But I do want to do a AMA type thing today, so if you have a good question, you can drop it down in the comments below or on the Discord. Welcome No Bones Jones. Welcome SciArt. Welcome back. If you have art questions or questions no, I already hate this. I already hate this a whole bunch. I want to try to answer those today. I want to do some basically Discord help. So if you guys want questions, put them in the super chat. Put them in the Discord. If you're not a member of the Discord, please jump on in. And we're gonna have some fun. So while I'm doing this, I'm just gonna start doodling because I need to work on this. Bodies are weird. It's like this has to be rigid. This is rigid, and then you got this like pool noodle that decides, oh, I can bend a little bit, but not too much, otherwise I will die. Same thing with the neck. It's been a long time since I've done any type of live body study, so I need to do some of that in the near future, and maybe that'll help me with my poses. 'Cause yeah, that's already weird. It's gonna be a lot of erasing today. It's gonna be a lot of fun. You know the rules. When you don't know what to draw, welcome Wyatt. Get reference. Here we go. Now we got some good stuff to draw. Yeah, I've had a lot of people asking, oh, is one by Wacom Small Group, is one by Wacom Small good for beginners? I mean, I finished art in middle school, but only traditional art on canvas. If you want to move into digital, I do suggest getting some kind of tablet. It will feel a lot more... it's a lot easier to transition that way, just because the working with the mouse is completely different than any other type of art that I've done. Maybe finger painting. So if you want to do a lot of vector art, the mouse is okay. But if you want to do something more painterly, I would suggest the tablet. The small tablet's all right. I tend to find that the mediums to larges are a little better because they more accurately reflect the size of the screen. So you're getting more of a one-to-one than with the smalls. You're really only drawing. You're drawing half the size of what you're seeing on the screen, and I don't like that. It kind of screws up my artwork. If it's all you can afford, it's great. I went through 3 tablets in 10 years just because I got a really cheap one and I loved it. A few years later, I upgraded to a larger one because I liked that, and then I eventually moved on to a Cintiq once I was actually getting paid to do art. So yeah. Fluffy Minotaur. It's also great. I'm kind of bouncing between the super chat and I hope that answered your question. If it did not, basically what I'm talking about is like if you get the small tablet, you're still mapping that to your screen, which, like, if you're zooming in on something, it's not that big a deal because, like, what you could be drawing on here is, you know, someone, hey, it's me, happy-go-lucky dude. And so on your tablet, which is really like this big, it's trying to match your screen exactly. So that's if you're doing like a wired tablet. If you're getting a tablet where you're drawing on it like an iPad, smalls are fine. Because it is just, you have yourself a smaller piece of paper and you can zoom in. And zooming in is great. Yeah, I do like the large ones. I think the large ones are a lot easier to use. So I'm struggling with body form and shoulders today. So I'm going to be doing some studies. Going to be doing some studies. I really want to need to get some sweet action poses. There's a few different ways to do this. So, I mean, overall, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be making a body. Going to be making some hips. And I'm going to attach a head to it, right? Everything else is kind of freeform. So now I just need to make shapes. And I need to put those in their place. So that's really my choice here of where I'm going to do that. And that is a pretty gnarly bend. I kind of like that. That's nice. Really need to find the shapes of my muscles, my muscle groups, because I want them to be awesome. I want them to be super awesome. But I really need to do it in dynamic poses. Grey's Anatomy. Grey's Anatomy is like a really good starting point. Any advice for portraits? Yeah, you know, we could do some portraits. Portraits are fun. I haven't done portraits in a long time. Big thing with portraits is basically how you break it down. We can do it. We can do some portraits. That could be fun. I wanted to work on this, but haha! Dance party. Maybe we can do some portraits. I can do some portraits. There's a couple really good tutorials out there on YouTube for drawing people. I think someone used what's the one that... Oh, what's that guy's name? I'm going to yell that now. Proco? Proco uses the Luminaire method, which is like circle, add stuff. I do something very similar. But also my head proportions are always jacked up. So if you're doing portraits, if you're doing real portraits, then it's just photo reference and understanding your photo reference. If you're trying to create your own, I would really suggest starting with form shape, which could be the Luminaire method. Start with ears so you know where they go, and then start defining all of your pieces. If you don't know the proportions of a head yet, that's something great to start with, because not everyone is going to have a perfectly good, perfectly proportion shaped head. But if you understand the principles of it, and I still have to look from time to time because I jack it up all the time, you can really start doing some really fun stuff. So for the main part, let's just keep going. Let's do it. For portraits, so that's a base thing. Go ahead and go and look up some tutorials on understanding face proportion. But then after that, you can really start playing with it depending on the shape you want. So you can go for something that is more blocky, and then you just follow your proportion lines. Boop, boop, boop. Or you can have something that's very, very cartoony, and then you just have to follow your rules. So see how these are completely different? This is like the eyes are in like the dead center of the head, and then it's offset by a jaw. And this could be something that is going to be a lot more kind of Pixar-y, more stylized. And that is totally fine. Hello from Ohio. C-Bev, welcome to the stream. So if you're going to be doing something like this, where you want it to be very stylistic, the rules still apply. You just have to understand how to put them together. Like, you can start jacking up these proportions, but the skull still has to make sense. And so you can really exaggerate some features as long as everything makes sense. And that's where I see a lot of people struggle when they start doing art, because they'll do something like this, And then they'll do something like this and be like, "Oh, I don't know why my art isn't good." And it's like, well, you're not you're not following any principles of what should be, and you're just kind of going. And that's why things starting to look really funny. So there are some limitations to it, to where if you go too weird, things start looking alien. But for the most part, like, simple shapes can still work if, you know, the face is symmetrical, if your lines match up. Everything that is built needs to follow a process. So, like, the jawline should always start and end at the mouth, regardless of the shape of the head. The eyes are always going to have, like, the same sized orbitals that match up with the jawline, which then match up with the... What are these called? I feel called out. Ember, you can do whatever you want with your art. No one can stop you. But it really is a process of understanding the anatomy, and then you can do whatever you want with it. So like this could start looking like, we'll see the difference between that and, let's say, like, I always put a little bit of the skull in here so I understand what's going on. We know the nose is going to be here. If the nose is here, that means the orbitals are going to be here. And the eyes are going to be right in the middle of those. Then we can add some... So it's not so much a problem of, like, adjusting the... you can be as weird and creative as you want. You just have to understand how the anatomy of the piece fits into itself. So, like, this guy has basically, like, no forehead. No forehead at all. So he's probably going to have some, like, weird back hair here. And really all it is just understanding it. So if you can understand the basic, which is this, you know, understand your basic proportions, and then understand why they're proportioned that way, you can really go totally off the what's the saying? I don't know. Totally go off the rails, and it'll still make sense because your anatomy makes sense. Even if it's this or this, the anatomy of that makes sense. Maybe make your character where he is very patient and where he would only do harm if it's justified. Tiny brain. Yeah, maybe this guy's whole head, like, maybe the back of his head looks like this. Maybe this is his face. It's just all back here. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed C-Bev's. I'm playing a samurai in a cursive strad, and my DM wants to be the heart and soul of the group, but I'm not sure how to go about it. Thoughts? Samurai are really cool because they follow a code. They're basically like fighter paladins without religion. So if his whole jam is, you know, protecting the heart and soul of the party, I mean, maybe he just doesn't break conflict. Maybe he doesn't. He tries to solve conflicts within the group, keeping everyone together. There's a lot of really cool things you can do with that. I really like the samurai archetype. And that's cool that you get to play it through Strad. No neck. Yep, 0 neck. But yeah, so that's my basics for portraits, is really understanding those proportions. Because then you can start looking. Like, a lot of people won't have this face style. They just won't. A lot of people have very unique shapes. And you can really go a lot with it. So I usually do mine like this, just so I kind of get where I want the ears to be, because the ears will define where the eyes go, the eyes will define where the nose is, and from there you can really break out and do whatever you want. So we're gonna do that. I want to kind of right there. We're gonna have a mouth. Then we have a chin. Boop, boop. And then because we have a mouth, we know that this is going to be like this, and then these muscles go here. And this really breaks off into how studies work. If you've never done an art study, I would suggest doing that as well. Because if you understand everything that's underneath, then you can start understanding how things are going to go together. Got a jaw here. Jaw comes up. And we can go like that. Sorry, I got the sniffles today. Working outside too much in the rain. This might be a fun little experiment to go with. Heart and Soul, my party is the Bloodhunter Lichen Lizard Folk Werewolf. I like it. I really like the idea of the Bloodhunter. It was a really cool creation. And I like that it's tied to the werewolves. Very cool idea. So, if you've never done a study, let's take a look at a study. Studies are fun. So I have a copy of Figure Drawing, Design, and Innovation by Michael Hampton in front of me. It is a great book. If you are looking to get an anatomy book, there's Anatomy for Artists. This one is more, it's all drawn. So like everything in this book is hand-drawn. And so it gives you kind of an artistic breakdown of things. Maybe I'll put a link to that in the description. I don't know. Howdy from Scotland. Welcome, Wolfie916. Very cool. So does this technique also work for, say, doing Dragonborn lizard folk, or what program are you using right now? Okay, I'm using Photoshop. Yeah, I'm using Photoshop. It's because I love it, and I've been using it forever. And yes, it does apply to Dragonborn and Kobolds, because you could just, start drawing, like, oh, this is my Dragonborn. He's got a horn, and his name is Bilbo. Bilbo the Dragon Hobbit. And that's how a lot of people start, so like that's totally fine. And what will continue that is if we want to start looking at references for lizards or skulls or what kind of dragon you want. And that's why I think a lot of people on Instagram will start going into taking original ideas like the Dragonborn and then saying, what would a gecko Dragonborn look like? Or I guess for lizard folk, I've seen a lot of that kind of stuff, or a bearded dragon. And so you can find those references and start looking at, let's see if I can remember what a spiny lizard looks like. So we know that spiny lizard skulls look like this. I'm pulling something out of my head here. Let's see if it works. I should probably just actually use a reference. Let's just use a reference. Bilbo dragons. Exactly, Bilbo dragons. Spiny lizard. Yes. Okay. This is going to be great. So, spiny lizards have basically a triangular head. So, like, that's already going to upgrade the shape already, right? So, in our base form, we really want to break down this lizard idea. They're going to have an eyeball that's, like, right here. This is, by the way, how I would do a study of this. If you want to start a lizard folk, find a lizard you want to use, find a dragon you want to use, like for reference, and then I'll show you how to incorporate that. So I know I want to make a Dragonborn, right? So I'm not just going to straight up draw a lizard, but I need to understand the lizard. So let's take a look at this. They've got a really thin mouth right here, so they have a very small jaw that goes back pretty good, and their eye kind of goes up like this. That's their top jaw right here. Got a bottom jaw. I'm going to round off that nose a little more. Eyeball's pretty cool. Do something like that. Beep, 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 beep. And their head actually comes down pretty good. So those are our base shapes, right? So we got the front jaw, the nose. Nose is actually going to pin up like that. So these are all volumetric shapes that I'm drawing. Like this is a plane. This is actually like kind of a slope. It's more of a circle. This is also a conical circle, so it looks like this. Right, so I know that this is coming out of the body. And then we got some spines all the way along here that we know we can look at. And how is that going to attach? And then this is going to come up like that. So I've now drawn a lizard, right? This is a very quickly sketched spiny lizard. And they have a really actually kind of broad body that goes right into a shoulder. So that's a shoulder right here. And so you can see I'm kind of trying to keep the volumetric shapes of them. And this is actually a cylinder. It's going to look like that. Then they got a big old rib cage. So what I want to take from this is probably going to be the shape. I really like this eye. This eye is very unique to those lizards. You know what? I think I did that wrong. Let's take a look at this again. Let's switch to a bearded dragon. There's a bearded lizard. Yeah. Okay. Oh man, that is a handsome fellow. So now we can do. So this was the spiny lizard, right? This is the spiny one. So when you start thinking about like, oh, lizards are lizards, right? Well, they're not. So we're gonna look at the bearded one. Bearded one actually has a rounder head. So this is the bearded one. So you can already see there's a distinct difference. Their nose is more flat. It's going to be like that. Their mouth is actually much, much higher. And then their spines go like this. So we got this large kind of conical shape there. They have a big ear. And now if you'll notice, you got another eye right here. Their eye is huge. It really bulges up there. And then they have a round ocular eye hole. Whoop. Fill that in. And then their spines come up like that. So you can see how the shapes are different, the eyes are different, but really what we're looking at is we're looking at a lizard skull, which is very much like this. And this is going to be the case for most lizards. And this is why... Let's give you this little jaw real quick. Ugh. This is why studies are good, because now we're looking at this. This is my impromptu lizard skull. And we look at a dragonborn. And how do I draw a dragonborn? I like the pointy nose, the big jawline here. Give him some little like dragon beard stuff. We can see that this kind of skull patterning can be used to make a dragonborn. And then we can start taking, do we want this large eye with the round cavity, or do we want the kind of the teardrop shape of the spiny lizard? Do we want those, sorry, I forgot to make the bearded, haha, little spines. You can start taking pieces from each of these to start building your dragonborn. I think they have some pretty cool little frills here. I think that's actually too much. I'm going to bring that down a little more. That should tip, except I want him to have a cool horn, because why not? Even though our references didn't have one, and that's totally fine. Is it just me, or do lizard skulls without the lower jaw look like bird skulls? Hey, you're pretty not wrong. They also have a lot of teeth. There's some pretty weird skulls out there, because bird skulls are kind of interesting, because they usually have a large cranium space for large orbitals, and then they get their beak on there, and then they have a split skull. But the shape is pretty close, because like we go from that to lizards with teeth and large, flatter, because they're on the ground. I mean, that's the whole purpose. Like, that kind of thought process is why you would do a study like this before you go into a dragonborn or a lizard folk. Because you can start getting those references, and then when you start drawing, you already have those, like, oh, I've drawn that before. I've drawn something very similar, and now I can really start kind of playing with those ideas. Like, I'm going to give this guy a little bit more of a... And I really like this kind of, like, shape here that comes up for the spiny lizard. So I'll probably keep that. Make it a little more scaly. But I do also like this large, like, raised eye that's coming up over here. But because we're understanding the anatomy of it more, you can really, really start playing with it without it getting weird, because you kind of have a basis for what that should, or something that looks very similar to what you want. And you don't have to worry about just coming up with everything on the fly. And even a lot of really, really good artists that people, like they use reference all the time in that exact way. And they're not just copying something, they are actually using the reference as a means to create their own stuff. So. Why should we play Lizard Folk? I have a whole video for you to watch. Yeah, if you haven't seen the Lizard Folk video, go check that out. It's great. I love that video. Lizard Folk are pretty fun. Basically, there are thousands of types of lizards out there, so anybody can really customize them. They've been around forever. I also like this kind of enlarged cranial ridge. I think I might actually have some good spines on it. Give them big old shoulder muscles. Keep with the bearded exterior here. But yeah, there we go. The new end book. Welcome back, Bri. Coming out in 2 months, I'm going to have Satyr and Nymphs as interest in the draw and discussions of them. Cool. Yeah, I'd be down for that. I do want to do Nymphs as their own kind of class. Like the Fae, the Fairy Folk. I guess Satyrs are kind of in there too, but I haven't come around to make a video for that yet. But it's definitely something we can talk about in the discussion here. I like how he's interested. I like how he, instead of practicing poses, shows us how to draw lizards. That tends to be how my drawing sessions go. Sometimes I sit down to do something and then something totally different happens. But yeah, so you can see the evolution here. Like, this is a really quick sketch of okay, I need to understand the shapes that are inside of a lizard, and that's really what we got there. I got the size of the skull, and then I did a different lizard to see how it was different. And you could break it down, looked at some birds, and then now we got a lizard folk. That's how studies should go. You shouldn't sit down. Well, I shouldn't say you shouldn't. If you're going to sit down and you want to make a character and you don't have any practical references yet, you haven't thought about what you're referencing, you can spend a lot of time just noodling and diddling with really small details and then come out and not be very happy with it. At least that's what happens to me. So finding good references or good ideas are really good. And if you make a concept board for characters, that's another great way to kind of really get your character out there. Grab 5 or 6 pictures that you think yeah, this is something cool I want to do. It's a great way to go. Welcome back, Cthulhu. I see more deleted messages. Here's a question. How would you draw a character whose limbs float, like Rayman? That's actually a cool idea. I've done some of things like that in the past. Basically, what I've done for that, I did a whole character whose arms were electrically connected for some game concepts back in the day. You still want to go through your shapes of what you're doing, right? So I was just doing these box forms earlier, so chest, rib cage, head. Doing this kind of work is really good. And so then, okay, we want this to be more cartoony, maybe more kind of squatty. So bigger chest, bigger legs. Maybe it's like this. We'll make it like a rock monster here. Super big arms and really stumpy legs. Right? So doing this still gives you the proportional guides, and then you can go in and you can draw whatever you're going to do for your hands. Wow, that's some lazy hands. That's totally fine. We'll just go with it. And then you retain your proportions without actually needing to you know, keep the centerpieces. Does that make sense? Go ahead and like just connect it with lasers. I hope that helps Cthulhu. So really, like, this kind of pose work is still good. So like with Rayman, I think his body, I think they draw him with a bean is how they do it. So they do this, and then they like draw out what they want his head and body to be placement wise. And he's got this going on. Ah, he's running and jumping, and then they just, you know, just draw the boots. And that's it. You draw the gloves. And you're done. And that's it. But still having those base forms is super important. Yeah, especially if you're doing something that animated. Railroad the campaign. Oh, I missed something. Why are we railroading a campaign? I once played a lizard folk rogue that gave away his and other party members' possessions by eating bugs that were running by him while he was hiding. Gave away his... Oh, give away their positions. Okay, I thought you said possessions. That was pretty funny. I've had a player play a raccoon that would just steal shit from the party and then trade it to other people when they weren't looking. That was pretty funny. Yeah. What should we look for when making guidelines? There's a couple different shape, basically. I mean, there's a lot of discussion you could do for guidelines. But really, you're trying to define a few different things. So when I started today, I said I was going to work on my poses. And some of the reasons I struggle with poses is because I don't do this enough. So you're either defining a line of action. So like you need your character now splayed across this line, or maybe they're ducking. And so you can really play with all kinds of stuff for that. Ducking under something. But really what you're trying to do with your guidelines is find the shape volumes, find the directions of objects, and then go to town. I think this knee would be like right here. Yeah. So we got someone's like bending that way. If you use, depending on what you're doing, let me keep. I can't read the chat right now because I need to talk about guidelines. Let's see what I got in this book here. This is a great way to do it. When I do my guidelines, I basically I almost always block in the base position, which is kind of why a lot of my characters are very rigid, because I like making these like form like fit people. But they're not very dynamic because they're all just very kind of like hunkered down. But now that I've done this, like this looks really complicated, but this is giving me guides. This is like, okay, the rib cage is right here. Like this is the center mass of the body. So now I can draw my rib cage like that, and I know that that's gonna, fall into the body right here. And I got my sternum, I got my shoulder, my collarbones. And I got my general shape of my shoulders. So the shoulders themselves have the bone attached, come down, and then you're going to start having your muscles. And this is why the guidelines are important, because all of these things are kind of dictated by the things they are attached to. What is the protocol to have you draw a character live or otherwise? CBev, you can talk to me in the Discord, or you can send me a message, like a direct message on Discord. Or you can email me, or you can go to my art station and email me, find me on Reddit. Yeah, that kind of stuff. I will be taking commissions again this week. I am a little busy. I have today off. I'm doing this today, and then tomorrow I'm going to start a new commission piece, which I'll run through with you guys. But I do have a list, so if you want to try to contact me through there, that's the best way to do it. Anyways, back to this. The guidelines bring all of these things together, because I know how all the pieces are attached. And that's why these kind of books, like, once again, what am I using here? Figure Drawing, Design, and Innovation. teach you those things. And that's really where, when someone says you need to practice, you need to study, you need to work on your anatomy, this is what they're talking about. You really have to learn, how things go together, to really understand a lot of basic anatomy and artwork. So let me sketch out an arm real quick. So all of this stuff, this is right out of the book. I'm looking at this as I'm going, because I don't always remember all of my muscle groups, and that's why reference is great. So that's a pretty good little arm. And remembering 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different muscle groups and how they look and extend and work with each other can be really daunting. So when someone says work on your anatomy, that's exactly what they're talking about. You need to understand how all the muscles and things work together. So baselines, back to this. So this was straight on, and I knew where all those things attached. But now if I do the same kind of pose, so this is just a base body form, and I put my curvature this way, because I want the body to be looking a different direction. You can also do it with the spine if you want to do the spine. It's just the opposite. All of these things still apply. So now my rib cage is going to go from here to here. And my pecs are going to come this way, my collarbones. But now I can start foreshortening some of this stuff because I have those guides already in place. I know that the front of my body is right here. I know my rib cage is still going to be like this. And then it's a matter of kind of following all these lines and understanding where the body goes. So now my shoulders are going to be farther back, and I can start putting all those things together and start moving them around. Ta-da! I gotta go. See you later, Wyatt. Thanks for stopping by. I'm glad you got to hang out for a bit. All right, Bri. What is Bri saying? Although they will probably just look like smaller goblins, I would like to see a gremlin or a critter drawn and discussed. Not so secretly, I just want a gremlin vs. critters movie. Fair enough. Gremlins are pretty interesting, actually. I think that's I don't know if they need their own video, but they could definitely something we could doodle around with sometime. I need to start making a list of things to do during the draw and discuss. So that will probably go up on the Discord. I will put up a list or something there that we can add stuff to. All right, where are we? Ember, I hope that helped. If you'd like to further iterate, please let me know. But yeah, that's basically what you're looking for with guidelines. Is basically you can go from something very simple that will define your shape. Same thing with the heads. A head is not perfectly round, but once you have a circle, you can really start defining, the next parts that are going to help you define the whole head. That's the importance of the guidelines, is they really start breaking things down. And then you can get the actual shape you want out of it. So see, we started with the circle, but now we've got creepy, weird eyeballs. They go into a nose, and we know where the nose goes because of our shapes and our lines. We got a mouth. Hey, all right. And that's how I do a lot of my work. Is I start with the basic shapes I can, and then I just start adding. I start adding the guidelines that I know are there, and then I replace them with actual musculature and different things like that. Elves are blood and bone of D&D. Prove me wrong. Elves are, yes. Basically, everything that is magical and weird in the universe can all go back to an elf deciding that he was bored and boinking something. Sure, Amber, no problem. I like seeing your work. I like seeing everybody's work, and I like seeing people improve, and I'm always here to help. And hopefully I can get some... I've had a few people actually help me get my own stuff better, so I think it's a great process for everybody to be talking and discussing and figuring stuff out. But yeah, elves. Elves are, elves make everything weird. That's why we have merfolks. That's why we have snake people. That's why we have satyrs, minotaurs. I guess you could argue that maybe humans kind of did it too, but at the same time, I think elves are more implicit. You live that long, you're gonna be into some weird stuff. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. Ooh, jack that up. Heap, heap, whoop. Get all of the face things we need in there. Get the jawline in. Get the eyeballs. You got a person. You got a person. What time is it? 4:30? All right. Rocking and rolling. I need a drink, though. Barbarian is fun. Cthulhu asked, hey, what's your favorite class? It's a great question. I play so many clerics and so many fighters. I do need to play a blood hunter. I haven't played one yet. I think that would be a lot of fun. What was I doing? I don't remember what I was doing now. Let's go back. Let's draw lizard folk. Oh yeah, I need to work on my body. I'm gonna work on my body forms. Because I'm getting lazy. That's such a weird curve. I feel like there's like, it's fun to draw people like super extended, but like nobody stands like that. Like nobody. I'm a barbarian. Watch me throw my axe about. It's like, all right, well, you're going to die, but whatever. Blood Hunter needs a video. I think eventually I'd like to start doing class videos, but I have so many races that I want to do. I think that might be a stretch goal. Once I get the channel to a point where I can take some time off of work, I can start doing, because right now I'm doing a video like every 2 weeks, because it takes me about a week to do the video and then a week to do the script and actually get it recorded and blah 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 blah. I'd like to do more than that, so I'm gonna have to start budgeting my time a little better. But then once we can do that, I can start doing more. And so I think what I'd like to do, like the end goal would eventually be like a weekly video for race and a weekly video for class, and then have the live stream. The live stream is kind of my stop break right now, because I'm only adding a few hours to my day to do that. I can engage with everybody and I can come up with some cool stuff, and I can just get my sketches out there. I'm wondering how Warforged blood hunters would work. Yeah, that is a little interesting, because they don't really have blood. But I guess you could like scrape off some metal and then use the metal filings for the spell component. I would allow that. I think that'd be cool. Or maybe if you leaked fluid. The other weird thing I do, which I'm not supposed to do, and I've still not corrected myself, is that I would like to draw the heads first. I like to draw the heads of people first, and then I go from there. Apparently, I've been yelled at by a few people about that. They don't like that. They don't like that at all. But it's just kind of how it works for me. Like, that's what works really well. I usually have to go back and edit my headspace anyways, but I just like the way it works. How do you avoid distractions while you work? Well, reading the chat is definitely not not helping at all. So that's partially practice for me. But one way I get around doing it, and if people in the chat, I should say this isn't just me time. If people in the chat have ideas, you are welcome to add or jump into the Discord and do your own thing. I do a lot of music. I'm very musically inclined, so I will turn on music, put on headphones, and just start going. I do notice that if I have too short of a playlist, like if I have just YouTube playing a video and I have to stop every few minutes and change it, it kills my workflow. So finding like a good playlist that I like, or like turning Pandora on and just letting it go, really helps me. Part of the thing I've also found is that a lot of distractions come from not really wanting to be doing what you're doing. So sometimes I just have to take a break, get some chores done or something, and then come back to it. Because it is really easy to find other things to do. Like there are days when I'm struggling with a piece, and I will just I'm going to go ahead and do my laundry now. And then I feel guilty about doing my laundry instead of getting my artwork done. Okay, let's see what I did wrong here. So, this is this is the next thing about, like a Jack-in-the-Box. Sorry, let's back up a minute. Imagine Warforged werewolves. Imagine Warforged werewolves. Because how would he be a Flash? I mean, how would a lycanthrope work on a robot? That's a strange sentence that I'm not really sure of, but I think the main question is how would a Warforged become a werewolf? You ever seen Beast Wars? It's basically Transformers of robots turning into animals. I think kind of like that. I think you would just turn into like a metal wolf, or a metal wolf man. Yeah, robo werewolves. I think that's pretty cool, especially in the Warforged video I talked about that a little bit with like if you were a druid, I would still make you turn into like metal animals. And maybe you wouldn't be as good as stealth because you're a robot, but whatever. So this is the next part of practice, something I want to talk about. So this is how to practice. I've had a lot of people talk to me and they say, "Oh, I keep spending a lot of time reworking this over and over again, and it still doesn't look right." This part right here where I'm at, this part where I'm at, this is a great stopping point. So like once you get to here where it's just scribbles, stop. It looks like shop, whatever. Because I can start looking at this and you can start breaking down those volumes again. Like, okay, I know my neck's working, my head is working. That's good. But then I look here and like my chest line is right here. This guy's got a super caved in chest. So that needs to be fixed. So that needs to mean that his chest should be coming this way. Like this is the center line of his body. So everything needs to be shifted to that. So like now we can rework. We have the hips here. We have this. We have that. His rib cage needs to just be moved. Like it's all slightly off from where it should be. And so like this arm will probably have to come forward a little bit. Since he's so much turned, his arm can probably come down a little bit. And we can really start breaking it down. And if you can't do this with your artwork, like if you look at your artwork and you're like, I have no idea why this looks bad, that means you need to go back to that step of finding reference, drawing the reference until you understand like the actual volumes that are there, and practice that anatomy, practice that shape, find those volumes. That's what people mean by you need to work on your anatomy. You need to do volume sketches or volume drawings. Yeah, so now that I've done that, I can say, oh, that's terrible. Let's fix it. Favorite race. I play so many humans. that I've been told I'm very boring, but I like their flexibility to just do whatever I want with them. Besides that, I've played a few elves, like full elves, for the snootiness, because I do like the snoot. Man. I've actually played a lot of Minotaurs. I think Minotaurs are a lot of fun. Whenever people try to get into D&D and they're like, oh, I don't know what to play, I'm like, I'll play a Minotaur. It's going to be great. You're going to be huge, and you're going to break everything, and it's going to be awesome. So I will always suggest people to play Minotaurs. Yeah, I play a lot of humans. Like me a good humie boy. Cute drawings. Welcome, cute drawings. That was weird for anyone not reading the chat that I just screamed out that my drawings are cute. So thanks for that. That's cool. Glad you could join us. We are doing a little bit of a Q&A for anybody who needs art help or wants something to add to the art lexicon. I'm just practicing weird poses because my poses have not been doing me justice lately. I've not been happy with them. This guy's leaning, but I don't like it. Looks like T1000 now. Let's just start over. Action lines. Action lines. Whoosh, whoosh. Get a spear going on here. Get some shoulders. Hoo-ah. Maybe get some hips in there. Get a knee going up. Knee going back. Leg. Man, we can have some fun. Also, Rook, how long will you be streaming for? What time is it? I'll probably be streaming for another 20 minutes. And I think we'll probably call that today. Kazoo, you're playing your first human. How are you liking it? Did you do the bonus feat, or did you do the +1 to all your stats? I need to start playing with shapes. And this goes back to guidelines. Like, if you understand the guidelines, then when you start bending people, you can start understanding, like, once again, center line of my body. Need to make sure I follow that. Shoulders, great. Start attaching things that belong to shoulders. Arms. Make sure they're the same length. Understand that. Understand why they belong that way. And then see, so this elbow, which I thought would be coming straight down, probably not going to work just because of the way the arm is. So I need to find out where this would bend so that his hand will connect. That'll work for now. Kind of like this, like, crossover thing. Now this guy's playing hockey, dang it. We're just drawing a hockey guy. Get this other leg down here, and the foot's off back there doing something funny, and he's just, like, running. He's just running and gunning. But that's how action lines work. Like, you just start with a line and start cramming it in there. That's awesome. I really like the athletic feat. It's easy and fun. Makes you climb a little bit faster. I made a Dragoon the last time I played a D&D character. Played a lot of Pathfinder. Decided to play some D&D, and one of my friends said he would DM for us. So I tried to make a Dragoon as best I could. Someone that could run and jump, and had to write up spreadsheets for how fall damage would be applied. It was pretty great. Pretty good stuff. Is the Discord link working? Because usually we get a few people joining up. But I haven't seen anybody talking in the Discord today. I hope it's working. I also know, and I was able to ask the question, is a kobold an improvised weapon? Yes. That is a great question to ask. What was the answer? I hope it was a resounding yes, because kobolds should always be able to be used as weapons. So you can see now that because I have this this body line, I can start deciding where different things go. And this might not be the best corrected way to do this. I think the leg is probably going to be a little farther out, depending on how much I want to curve this. There's a lot of foreshortening going on here that I'm not super happy about, but I can figure it out. The more you practice, the more stuff will be already in your head, and you can just go to town. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here, but super fun. The voice chat has a natural intimidation of 17. Is there a voice chat actually going on? Am I not aware of this? No? All right, we're good. Yeah, the fun thing about throwing kobolds is, or hitting things with kobolds, is both of the kobolds should take damage. Improvised collision. You take massive negatives unless you have a good feat for it. That's what I always say. Whenever someone's like, is this a thing? It's like, yes, but you take penalties until you spec into it. The classic giant sword pose, why not? I do like this pose. It's a good pose. Straight, curved, hips follow the curve. Got a lot of crazy droop there. The voice chat. I think we're winding down a little bit. If you guys do have more questions throughout the week, you can always ask me on the Discord, or you can feel free to drop them in a comment somewhere, or you can put them somewhere for a later date. Be like, hey, can you address this on the next live stream? Man, I don't know what I just did with all this crazy anatomy. That's what I get for talking and drawing at the same time. Let's try that again. So this. Rib cage goes from the neck, collarbones. There we go. Shoulder should be right there. Got a little bit of a squish muscle and a little bit of a stretch muscle. Bottom of the rib cage. Bottom of the rib cage. That is going to stretch all the way up there because we're flexing. We're flexing that puppy. This arm's probably going to be out here. There we go. That's looking better. It's looking better. It's not great, but it's looking better. Rib's going to come out here. Rib's going to come out here. Get some musculature. We'll get some abs. Get some abs. I always do all this detail, and it's like, hey, let's put armor on it, and you'll never see it. It's all right. Gets it where it's supposed to be, and then you can do whatever you want. Action lines don't actually have to be the real lines. They just have to be in place so you understand what's happening. And that's good to practice. That's good to practice. I practice my voices. All right. Well, we did some doodles. I still have a very rigid body form here, so I'll have to do that more on my own time. I think I could really do something with these hips. I don't like the way they look, but we're doing some stuff. There we go. I think I had the wrong hip up. I think if it's curving this way, I think his body would need to do that. Woo! Always stuff to play with. Always stuff to get better at. Oh, my pen has broken. I think that's a good place to stop then if the pen stops working. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Oh, I got one more question. What do we got here? Would you ever think of doing 101 practical teachings for people? Interesting. I don't know if I have 101 things. Do you watch Draga? I don't, Ken. I'm not sure what that is. Is that something I should check out? If so, do you want to drop a link to it in the Discord? To the 101 practical teachings for art? Yeah, I don't know what I would have to do. I could do maybe something for Photoshop or lessons. It feels like 101 things feels like a like a whole season or a whole series on YouTube. But that could be something fun to talk about if that's something you're interested in. Drop the idea in Discord and we'll keep talking that way. So thanks again, everybody, for hanging out. Thanks for watching. I don't know what I would add to any of that. Remember to keep your dice on the table. Remember to keep your art practices going. I feel like I need to draw at least one thing before I go here, so I'm gonna go whoop 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 whoop. Give you guys a little bit of the rook. It's like a deranged hockey mask. It's great. Little horn. Fill that in with black. There we go. Thanks again for hanging out, everybody. We will catch you tomorrow. Yeah, we're going to try to do 3 or 4 live streams a week. And we will keep talking, keep sharing your art, keep sharing your D&D stories, and we'll catch you next time.